Hi, I'm Stacy, and I have Saturn in my first house. So, I guess first of all, I'll just tell you guys about my childhood. So, my dad was someone I would consider to have some anger issues. I sometimes felt that he kind of pressured me to be successful in life, and he would there was just a lot of expectations and pressures for me to succeed, that I always felt like I had to prove something to him. But it was not like that. It was more of that I had to prove that I could assert myself in the world. Do you know what I mean? That I wasn't just being lazy or just being passive and just doing nothing with my life. Like, he made me feel that I had to somehow be active in the world. And sometimes it's a little too much, this somehow made me care a lot about how I was viewed by people. It was like my image was really important for me, but I didn't know that, when I was younger and in my teenage years and even in my early 20s. It was just something that I thought, was normal for everybody, that everybody had to put on a show almost, that everybody had to be somebody at the expense of who they really were inside. I was not really told that I needed to cultivate, understand myself at a very deep level. School was really hard for me when I was younger because I wasn't I wasn't a very good-looking kid, I was kind of short. Was the shortest in the class, small, fat girl with glasses. And I remembered I would just sit alone on the bench and have my snack. I was teased a lot for the way that I looked. I think it's just not fair, sometimes, like, I couldn't choose the way that I was born, the way that I looked. Nobody could. But still, people find something to pick on. And I was really angry. Most of all, it was my nose. I didn't like my nose. It's always kind of like just too big and rounded and ugly. This made me really, really shy. And, the more that people thought I was ugly, the more I couldn't have any friends, the more I isolated myself, the more I couldn't bring up the courage to initiate friendships or to make friends and things like that. Although I was really angry, I didn't want to be angry at people. I mean, I always felt that that was just a bit selfish. I once had a crush on this boy, and I think it was the first time I ever fell in love. For 3 years I was in love with this boy, but I never told him. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I was just this awkward person. Why would anybody love me back? When I was about, 25, I was working as a nurse, and I had this patient, I remember that, who had some kidney problems, and I was supposed to kind of just be in charge and take care of this patient. And I once overheard my colleagues saying that I wasn't doing good, saying that, I didn't know how to take care of this patient properly. And oh boy, did that set me off. But, inside set me off. I decided that I needed to prove myself, so I told the manager that I would do a lot of OTs, and I would work on the weekends and things, because I really felt that they were putting me down, and I needed to prove to them that I could do it. I needed to be seen as someone who was successful. Well, I guess, all that overwork and that kind of suppression of anger and things kind of took a toll on my health, and I was having migraines for a long time, and I couldn't even go to work anymore. So I had to take time off from work, a long time off from work. But eventually I went to therapy for a little bit and, worked my stuff out. And yeah, I was able to go to work again. And when I was 28, I was called in one day by my manager, who thinks that I was too tired to take care of patients in the way that I was doing. I don't know, I think that I probably was tired, but I think I wanted to keep going, and prove something. But it was coming off as being tired and incapable. So my boss, my manager, told me that I had to move to the clinic instead of assisting in the main part of the hospital, that I had to just take care of the daily patients and not the overnight patients anymore. I wasn't gonna allow that to happen. I worked so hard. I slaved myself away. So I quit 28 and a half on a career that I had been working on all my life. I was so silly. I quit. After that, I went into a down low. I was at my lowest point in my life. I went into depression. For 3 months, I would wake up, every day, and I would think to myself, what's the point? Until it got to a point where I didn't even want to eat. I didn't even want to shower, because what was the point? At that time, I was also with in a relationship with a man that I had been with for 3 or 4 years at that time. I guess I always knew that he had some anger issues. But I think it kind of got out of hand when I went into depression, because it was almost like he didn't understand what I was going through. That he just expected me to be the same. That I would just get up every day, try again, go to work, clean the house, make dinner, you know, all the things that I was doing before. And when I didn't, he would just be angry about every little thing. But I never said anything. I don't know. Who am I to say anything? I thought that's maybe what I deserved. You know? I don't know. My friend recommended to take some classes during that time, when I was about almost 29, just kind of trying to get through the depression. She recommended that I took some classes for self-confidence. So I did, and it was pretty enlightening, because for the first time in my life I realized that self-confidence must come from within. That it must come from working on myself and being confident with who I was internally and not externally. Of course, I always thought that I would be more confident if I looked better, if I wore better clothes, if I had the right job, the right relationship. But this class really taught me that, to be confident, I really had to know who I was at a very deep level, and that I am capable innately inside of me, I saw a therapist, and it was kind of like scream therapy, I suppose, for a whole 1 or 2 weeks. I was crying every day, every other day, and I was screaming into my pillow a lot. I was told to do that by the therapist. And when all of that was released, I realized that until that point, I had never been myself. I had been hiding under this facade, this persona. So after the classes and after the somatic therapy, I did better. I not only released all that pent-up anger that I had, towards my dad, towards those kids at school, towards my partner, but mainly it was towards myself, It was towards the fact that I never stood up for myself. So I did. The first thing I did was I realized how abused I had been with my partner, how much he was suppressing me and dominating over me, so I let him go. I decided to really look into what it is that I wanted to do with my life in terms of my career. I read some self-help books, of course. I saw some astrologers. I kept going to therapy. Because I wanted to really get down to the core of who I really was. And it's been quite a journey. I'm now 33 years old, and I work as a gallery owner, something that somehow was always been on my mind and something that I wanted to do in my life. I'm really happy with that. I'm dating again, and I found someone who really knows me at a really deep level, like really knows me. But you know, I don't think that I would have chosen this person, and I don't think that they would have had the chance to really get to know me if I hadn't gotten to know myself first. It's been a healthy relationship so far, and I no longer suppress my anger, shall I say. If I'm angry, I say that I'm angry. If I'm upset about something, I make sure to talk it out. I no longer wear a mask. I guess what I've learned from this experience is that I was in this loop, this cycle. It started off as, my father pinning on some insecurities towards me with regards to my looks and also my ability to assert myself in the world. So I kind of overcompensated for that by creating this mask. And I identified with this mask, this persona, this person that I wanted the world to see me as, but I was not identifying with my inner self and who I was at my core. So I guess it was a kind of superficial self-assertion, shall we say. It was a kind of coping mechanism, which of course created more awkwardness and shyness, because people could probably somehow sense that I was somehow superficially trying to engage with them, so they didn't want to engage with me in return. This, of course, led me to having more low self-confidence than I already have, and more, negative thinking of why is all these things happening to me. I started to have this kind of attitude of attacking people before they could attack me as a form of defense. And of course, I don't mean that, physically attacking, but words or through actions, like daily things that I do, which leads to more suppression of anger and suppression of myself, suppression of my inner self, because I'm constantly on defense. And then this causes more insecurity about my ability to assert myself, because I'm just not even asserting myself correctly. So I was stuck in this loop. I was stuck in this karmic loop of insecurities for a large part of my life until I was around 28 to 30 years old. That's when I learned and I worked on myself. Like really, really worked on myself. And it is one of the best things that I've ever done for myself. What I've really learned from this experience in my life is that there has to be a balance between the outer personality and my own internal self. If I rely too much on what I was projecting onto the world of my external mask, then it would just create more insecurities, and that's what I've been doing all my life. But at the same time, if I had absolutely no mask, no persona, and I just only identified with myself at my core, I still would never be able to integrate myself into the world. So there has to be a balance between both of these things. And now I can say with confidence that I know how to assert myself positively. Because once I really know my own inner psyche, the inner workings of how I operate, I know what my life purpose is now. And the positive self-assertion that I have nowadays is always going to be in alignment with my life purpose that I've discovered. And because of this, I now attract a lot of people to me, because you know what? I am not ugly. It was all in my friggin' head, projected and manifested into reality. It was just these voices of people telling me that I needed to look a certain way, that I needed to be that and be this. And it affected me too much. But when I am secure inside of me deeply and I know myself so well, I realize that I am not ugly, I am beautiful. I can also say right now with confidence that I have been able to have very disciplined and controlled willpower, coupled with a sense of purpose. If I have a goal, I know how to use my willpower in the right way by channeling it with control. And nowadays, I take a lot of risk that I have never thought would ever be possible back in my 20s. I finally got myself out there into the world. I have been traveling to so many places, and I have been taking a lot of risk in terms of, starting my own business alongside my current job, investing in that, and just kind of willing to, grab opportunities that come to me with positivity, especially when it comes to my work, my career, and even love. So that's what I've learned from having Saturn in my first house.